Welcome to another episode of the Profit with Estate Planning podcast. We produce binge-worthy content for estate planning law firm owners by interviewing marketing experts, high-producing law firm owners, and professionals who work around death, legacy, and family dynamics. I'm your host, Heath Rost, and the founder of The Predictable Estate Planner. Today, I'm with Jack Simon of Platforms and Traffic, a successful design firm out of Memphis, Tennessee. Welcome, Jack.
Hey, great to be here.
Now, we like these interviews to be inspiring to all of our listeners. So today, we really just want to have a relaxed conversation about the world of web design, what's changing, what's working, what's no longer working, and specifically how this applies to law firm owners. Jack, you and I go way back. We were part of the early coaching program with a guy named Gallant Dill. That's how we first met. We've known each other for probably 7, 8 years maybe. So we've been in web design for a
Yeah, probably
while,
since 2019 at least, I think. So,
right?
yeah,
So
going on.
it's been a while. We've also both been making websites since, well, as a business owner since what, 2013 probably.
Yeah, I think I started branching out, offering website as a service to people around 2016. Before that, I'd just been building websites for probably 5 years on my own since 2011, just for internal projects and things that I wanted to launch. But then when people saw the work that I had created and asked me who built the website, I told them I was the one who did it. And then they said, well, can you make me one? And that's kind of how it all started.
Nice. Yeah, we both have similar, beginning root stories with that. But yeah, so we work with a lot of law firm owners, and they have this issue with, oh, I think the website needs to be so pretty, right? Like so impressive. Uh, do you think that that's always the case? Because you build websites for a lot of different industries, but you've done the legal industry as well. What would you say about, like how professional the website, has to look?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, there's two folds to that. I think when it comes to professional, you want to look your best, right? Because this is your first impression when you're walking through the digital door, right? So this is how they're going to judge you off the Google search or however they found you. And this is your digital home. So you want to have it tidy and clean and, like you said, professional. But when it comes to, does it have to look pretty? You know, that could be loaded, right? You could actually hurt yourself by doing too much extra graphics or things that are unnecessary because at the end of the day, the website should have a goal. And if the prettiness is getting in the way of your goal, then it's going to affect the performance and the return on investment, basically, for the business owner. So, really, uh, in the web design world, we have this thing where we say, does pretty convert? You know what I mean? So, it's all about, does it convert first? And if it converts, great. And some of the ugliest websites, you'd be surprised, literally just text and a box or a
Yep.
button on the page are some of the highest converting because there's no confusion on what there is to do on that page. Whereas you start adding graphics and motions and videos and this and that, people get distracted. They forget why they were there in the first place, and you've lost that potential customer. So, it goes both ways, right? I would say you want to be professional, but you also want to stick to the goal, right? And focus on the conversion and why you built the website in the first place. Is it to get your phone ringing? Is it to generate leads? Is it to sell a product or service? What is that goal? What is that outcome? If you're a nonprofit, even, I know this for estate planning, but a lot of nonprofits, their main goal is to get donations, right? So everyone has a different purpose. The reason why I said that, we're just launched a nonprofit website like today. So it's fresh on my mind, just putting the donate button on someone's site because that's what they wanted. So, we're always here to assist people depending on what their number one goal is, and typically that is to grow their business, and there's a number of ways to do it. But yeah, that's the loaded answer to that question.
Yeah, man, I'm so glad to hear you say that too, because I see that that's probably the biggest mistake that law firm owners make is they invest, 20, 30, $50,000 into a website that they want to just be impressive, right? They just want to and it's not like, they want to intimidate people, but that's kind of what ends up happening. Like the website is so impressive that especially in the legal space, people are terrified to reach out to you, right?
Mm.
They're afraid of wasting your time by calling you. And that's really not what we're going for, especially, in the industry, the niche industry of estate planning, right? Like you're not supposed to, not supposed to, you don't want to encourage people to, not want to waste your time, right? You want to make people feel comfortable reaching out. And I also really like what you had to say about, just the fact that some of the ugliest websites are actually the ones that convert the most. Why do you think that some of those ugly websites convert so well, Jack?
Well, I mean, based off of data, right? Because we could all talk about our feelings, right? And we might feel that this website looks cool, or we might feel that it represents our business well, or it looks professional. But at the end of the day, how many times did your phone ring? How many people put their email in the box? And did that turn into new business? And some of the highest converting sites, the reason why they are converting at that rate is because when they people land on that page, there's only one action for them to take. There's not 15 buttons, there's not a video playing in the background. There's literally just a headline or a body of text that tells you exactly what to do, and then the next step being a button or a form to fill out. And it's just, I think it goes back to ease of use and no confusion for the user of the site. The person on there, they know exactly what to do, and that's click that button, and that's why it converts.
Right? Guys, think about that. Think about what Jack just said there. It's about ease of use. And I really like, it's a really simple sentence or headline, right? And a call to action button right underneath it. They know exactly what the next step is. There's no confusion, right? It should be ABC, 1, 2, 3. That's why it's converting, right? It doesn't have to look outstanding as long as it does what it's supposed to do, right?
Right. And that's
You know,
why we
these
always ask people when we meet with them, because I work with a variety of business owners in different industries and niches. I know you're heavy in the estate planning, so you probably know exactly what they want. But for me, it ranges. And so I always ask people, what is your number one goal? Like if this website, here's the question, right? If you're a web developer listening, the question is, um, wait, let me think about it again. I just lost it as I was thinking of it. Oh yeah, okay. So when someone lands on this website, what do you want them to do? And here's the question I was thinking of. So we build the site. Now, what is the definition of the success of this website to you, right? Because I want to know, what is the business owner thinking? Is it, do we just want to establish our online presence? Are we trying to increase the number of phones ringing? Are we trying to, book appointments? A lot of times people want to book appointments. That could be the number one goal. We want to fill up the calendar, especially like in an estate planning type business. So, yeah, we want to know up front, what is your definition of success? And we'll reverse engineer the outcome. And whether it's professional, pretty or whatever, we're going to make sure our focus is on your goal.
Right. Jack, I hear you talk about the data, right? And how, we're looking at the data, whether or not it's actually working, whether or not it's actually doing something when people are on the site. And, that is just it's such a real thing, right? Are you recording things? Are you tracking things? Do you know if they're working? Do you know the behavior of people that are going to a website, right? So Jack, I'd be interested in hearing from you. You're setting up, Google Analytics, Google Search Console for your clients, right?
Mhm.
So, you see industries, they will have different pages. Some might even have a business blog. Some a business blog doesn't make any sense. What have you noticed in terms of the behavior of people that go to your clients' websites? Do they typically go to all of the pages? Do they have a
Good question.
knowledge of the content that's on pages before they end up reaching out to your clients?
I would say a lot of times people want to read your about page. It's almost it's crazy when you go to it because we always have this idea of what the website's going to do. But like you said, once you actually see how the data is, a lot of times people read the about page before they go to your services. So you really need to have an about page. And here's the kicker. The about page isn't about you, right? You meaning the business owner, your practice. Hey, we're so special. Look at us. You could have a storytelling about page, but at the end of the day, the about page is actually about how you provide the service and what you're going to do, the transformation or the results you generate for your prospect, the potential customer of yours that's reading the website. So you want to highlight, why your business is different, what makes you stand out, why are you unique, and why they should contact you. That's kind of what a more of a salesy version of an about page is, but that's really, again, because it's tailored back to the goal to get your phone ringing or to get new business. So it's a lot of times when I notice people put themselves on the about page, but yeah, it's all about looking at the data, finding out what people want and delivering that to them. That's the main thing. But like you said, you want to install Google Analytics or you want to go into Search Console. Those are the nerdy things. Of course, you want to connect your Google Business Profile. That's another huge component because, my company's called Platforms and Traffic. The first step is really building the platform, developing something where people can land on and you can have a place to monetize or capture the visitor's information. But when it comes to the traffic, you've got to work on your SEO. You've got to work on your Google Business Profile. Are you getting new reviews? How often? And are you creating new content for the website? Or did you create it 3 years ago and it's just been sitting there collecting dust? Is anybody updating it? Are you maintaining it?
Before we get back to the episode, I want to mention something quickly. If you own an estate planning law firm and want more qualified leads coming in every month without relying on consistent referrals or paid ads, that's exactly what I help attorneys do. Through blogging, SEO, and conversion-focused websites, I work with estate planning law firms who want consistent leads, better cases, and a practice that actually grows year after year. If that sounds like something you want, go to predictableestateplanner.com and schedule a strategy call with me. All right, let's get back to the episode.
I tell people when they get into the website, it's kind of like getting a new car. You're not going to drive your car for 3 years and not, put gas in it or check the tires or things like that. And that's kind of important, to those business owners who are listening to this that manage everything themselves. Like, ask yourself, when was the last time you logged in and actually updated the plugins or updated the themes or, depending on what platform you built it on, how often are you maintaining that? Because the thing about the internet, it almost does like a hard change every 6 months. Like, and we've been doing this for years. Like I said, probably 15 years now, which is crazy to say. But since 2011, when I built my first website, I've seen the internet change 10 different times. You know what I mean? It's always changing. Maybe 20, maybe 30 different times. But like I said, maybe roughly every 6 to 12 months, the internet is changing itself. Look at Google, look at AI, look at what's happening right now. Everything is adapting again. And this is, from where we were 12 months ago. It's a completely different thing. So you're always going to have to log in and maintain what you have built so you don't get left behind and so you can still win and be competitive no matter what year you're listening to this is.
You bring up a really good point. People don't want to get left behind, right? And I see a lot of people marketing and they're talking about AI, and if you're not incorporating it into your business, you're going to get left behind. And I'm not saying we should start talking about AI, but more specifically, what is it that business owners need to know about setting up that foundation, the traffic portion of platforms and traffic?
Yeah, well, I mean, it goes back to like where are you showing up and where are you marketing? Also, who are you trying to reach? That's the main thing, right? Um, One of my mentors, his name's Ping Jun. He would always say, here, I'm forgetting it. No, he would always say, who do you serve and what is the result you generate? Right? That's kind of the foundation, right? And when you go from there, it's everything's built upon that. So we could go dive into traffic and get real nerdy, but first it starts at the basic building block. Who do you serve and what is the result you generate? Because based upon who you serve is going to determine our traffic strategy and our marketing, right? We can't just jump in and say, well, you need a Facebook and you need a TikTok and you need, Twitter or X.com, right? Everyone's got a different place that their audience lives. Your audience might be on Pinterest or Reddit, right? It might be on a totally different platform. There's billions of people on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. Let's be honest, right? Your audience is probably there. But is that the best place to target them? Is that the
Right.
best place to find them? Maybe depending on what industry you're in, it might be direct mail. You know what I mean? Because we're in such a digital world, people forget about the original methods of marketing that still work today. Print ads, media, billboards, television, radio, newspaper. I know a lot of people don't read it, but if you have an older target audience, those methods are still effective. So it all depends, right? Who do you serve and what's the result you generate? But let's just say, for example, you're in a digital space, right? You come to me, you need a new website, we get you going. I'm going to suggest you set up a Google business profile at the very minimum. Why? Because Google is the number one search engine. When people are searching for stuff, typically they're Googling it. And it's a default on a lot of people's phones, like Android. So they're going to go to Google, they're going to search for something in your area. You want to have your business set up so they can find you. And that's very important. And then the reason why I would suggest signing up for social media platforms, depending on what your business is because those are established and credible websites, meaning Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X.com, LinkedIn, YouTube, even depending on what industry. These are sites that Google recognizes and trusts. So when it sees your business connected with these sites, it's going to boost you just like part of the game. That's basically how it works. It's going to notice because what Google's trying to do, right, as the search engine, it's trying to recommend the best uh, person, place, thing, whatever, right? The best result for that search to whoever's searching for it. So you have to kind of reverse engineer. That's the name of SEO, right? It's find out what are people going to search for to find me and then show up for those things, you know? So a lot of people, they want to be number one on Google for the name of their business, which is great, and you probably will. But it's even better to be number one for that service in your area. So if I type in estate planning in Colorado, I want to be number one if I'm looking to get clients in Colorado as an estate planner. I don't care if they search for Matthews Law Firm or whatever. No one's ever heard of that, and that's okay. But what they're looking for is that result, And one thing that we always talk about when it comes to traffic is Google is intent-based searching. Facebook and Instagram is interruption-based. So the the outcome is going to be different, right? Depending on how you market to these people. Facebook and Instagram, they might follow you. Then you build that trust. You're going to create top of funnel content, stuff that gets their attention and brings them back into your world so you can build that relationship. But what happens, and so that's a longer sales cycle. But what happens with Google is people are already searching for you. They already know what they want. Imagine it's like this. When you're on Google, somebody's in the drive-through looking at the menu and they're trying to order. They're hungry. They're ready to eat. And that's what's happening on Google. Whereas Facebook and Instagram, you're driving down the highway and you see that billboard on the side of the road. You might get off if you're hungry. You see the sign with the big burger and fries, exit now. You might get off but it's an interruption. It's pattern interruption. You're just driving down the highway going to where you're going. And this automatically advertisement showed up and I might steer off the road for a second. But with Google, I'm already in the drive-through. I'm ready to place my order. So, I would recommend get the Google business profile first and then, determine where your audience lives. If your audience is on TikTok, go to TikTok. If your audience is on LinkedIn, go to LinkedIn. It all depends, right?
Brilliant, Jack. I love that analogy of the drive-through. I hadn't heard that one before, but I think it's great, and I think it plays extremely well. And we understand the difference between intent-based and invasive marketing. Where are people living? Where are people searching for answers to their questions, right? Um, yeah, so that's really, really important. I also heard a ninja hack that you shared there that I want to come back to, which was, you said first thing, most important, get the Google business profile set up. But then you mentioned that you should get a profile set up on other credible websites, right? Such as Facebook, Instagram, Twitter,
Right.
right?
Yelp for a lot of local businesses, Yelp is important.
So uh, Google is looking at these other websites and they want to see like, oh, okay, is it the same business name? So here's a ninja hack for you. If you're going to set up this Google business profile, maybe for the first time, or maybe you've had one out there for a while, does that name of your Google business profile exactly match the name on your Facebook page? Does it exactly match your YouTube channel? Does it exactly match your Twitter account? because it should. These names need to match, the
Mm.
web URL needs to match, and the phone number needs to match. And if they have an option for an address, the address should always match, right? So that's how Google says, yes, this is a credible, legitimate business. It's on several different websites and all the information is the same, right? From an SEO standpoint, we say, oh my gosh, if a business has several different addresses or phone numbers, that they're misaligned for search, right? Not everything is lined up. Sometimes that takes manual intervention of going in there and changing it yourself, right? You need to have admin access to go in there and change that. But I think that was a really, really good point that you brought up. Like, if you don't have the account set up, go make the account. I would just add to that, if you have the account set up already and these names don't match, phone numbers, email address, physical address, they don't match, go in there and fix that. You're going to thank yourself in 3 months.
100%. One thing I always recommend too is when you create your Google business profile, you're going to see a button when you're logged in, and it basically says like get reviews or ask for reviews. Once you click on that, they're going to provide you with a URL link, an actual link that you can copy. And to take that a step further, take that URL link, go to Google, type in free QR code generator. You can find one on Canva, things like that, and then put that URL link in that QR code generator, create a QR code, and then print it out, right? Or, make a graphic design, a flyer, ask your web people to do this for you, or ask a graphics person to do it, and put that QR code on a flyer. So when people are frequenting your business, they're leaving, maybe you leave one at checkout right there, laminated. Um, this is the easiest method to get a ton of reviews, which is going to boost your presence on Google, right? Because if I'm searching in my area for a certain subject and one guy has 100 reviews and the other guy has five, which one do you think Google is going to show first? And so you don't actually have, and here's the thing, you say the guy with two reviews or five reviews made his account 3 to 4 or 5 years ago. He's got time advantage on you, but you're aggressive in building that reviews and building up your profile. You can actually overtake his position on Google. It's constantly a battle on Google. There's no guarantee that you're going to be number one. You have to work for it. And that's why people do constant blogging and SEO so they can create content that continually pushes them to the top.
Yeah, if there's one thing I could say to just kind of summarize that is don't sleep on your Google business profile. Like,
Yep.
don't sleep on it. Hey, real quick before we finish today's episode, if you've been listening to this podcast for a while and you already know that most estate planning attorneys don't have a marketing problem, they have a consistency problem. They get referrals for a while, then things slow down, then they try ads, then they stop, and the cycle repeats. What I do is I help estate planning law firm owners build predictable lead generation using blogging, search traffic, and conversion systems that keep working month after month. If you want help building that kind of marketing for your firm, go to predictableestateplanner.com and schedule a call with me. Now, let's finish the episode. Jack, if somebody has 100 reviews right now currently, are they fine with their Google business profile? Do they need to, can they just, leave it alone and they'll be just fine forever?
Well, I mean, not forever. Like I was saying, it's like a car. You want to maintain it. You want to check the tires, put oil in it, whatever you got to do to maintain it. So same thing goes to the Google business profile, just like the website. But it all depends, right? I don't want to say yes or no because, like again, it depends. Let's say, you're landscaping in this area and you have 100 reviews and there's nobody that has any reviews, or your competitor, your closest competitor only has 15. You might take off the brakes, but then
In
again,
that, yeah,
is
in
your
that specific
competitor going to
instance,
go and get aggressive to beat you, right? But if you only have 100 reviews and your nearest competitor has 1,000, you got a lot of work to do. You know what I mean? So get aggressive, send out that QR code in an email blast or send out that link, put it
mhm.
as a button on your website, however you do it. And the one thing I like to do personally is every time I generate a result for somebody, that's when I ask for the review. I don't just say, hey, can you give me a review? That doesn't, okay, that's great. But if I just launched your site, if you just closed a new deal, if I just updated something or made your day, made you win, I'm just asking for a small win back. And it's a win-win. We all win together. And people are normally happier and you get better reviews from that. And then here's another ninja hack. put the search keywords or okay, so ask the people when they review you to put the search term keywords that you want to rank for in the review. So let's again say you want to rank for estate planning Colorado or estate planning in Denver, right? I'm going to ask my client to, when they give me that 5-star review, to say, hey, client, can you please put in your review somewhere? I'm the best estate planning attorney in Denver, Colorado, because Google wants to see that. It's one thing if I put it on my own site and I put it on my Facebook and I put it, all over the world. But when other people start saying this is the best your service in your area, Google loves that and they're going to boost you higher. That's just another ninja hack when it comes to
Yes,
getting reviews.
absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. Our listeners appreciate that so much, Jack. Like you have no idea. Like that's what they need to hear because they people are sleeping on their Google business profiles. I always recommend minimum 1 to 2 reviews every single month, right? Don't
Yeah,
ever take the breaks
keep
off.
it
There's no
current.
reason to ever take the breaks off. We need to start incorporating review gathering into our process, right? Our client offboarding process, so that it just becomes a thing that you do every single time. You normalize
Yeah.
it, you get comfortable with asking for it, and then you also get comfortable with telling them exactly what you want them to say in it, right? Because if somebody doesn't know what to say, they might be less likely to leave the review. But if you just hand it to them and say, say this, right? Not only are you going to get more likely to get the review, Google's going to love that. Google's going to eat that up for that service in that city. It's going to rank you higher. And, taking it a step further, make sure you reply to that review within 24 hours, just saying
That
thank
part.
you.
You have to reply, and you can set up autoresponders that reply for you. They're not too complicated, so you can have genuine responses and replies, and you don't have to monitor it. But that's key too. Google also. So let's say there's 2 pages. One of them has 100 reviews, the other has 100 reviews, but this guy never replied to any of his, and this guy replied to every single one. Google's going to rank the other one higher because he was doing the work. That's just part of it.
Yeah. Google looks at that Google business profile you set up and say, okay, this business responds right away. So the business that responds right away is going to be the best search result for Google to display when people are searching, right? So you're essentially just doing everything that Google wants you to do to be their best friend,
Yeah, and I
right?
mean, make sure you go in, update. You can add pictures. Google actually loves the location-based photos. So, like, if you take a picture with an iPhone, it's going to have a geotag of where that picture was taken. And when you upload that specific picture from where you took it in your area, Google actually says this person is here, and they recognize that. That's like very meta and technical, but this kind of stuff is how smaller pages or newer pages can outrank pages that have been established for 5 to 10 years, is because there's a lot of things that the old pages haven't done. They haven't updated their services. They haven't replied to the reviews, or they're not getting active reviews. They haven't got one in 2 years, but the page is still there. But you can overtake them even if you're a new business, just by getting aggressive and doing all the right things. But it's just going to take work. That's all it is. It takes work. And I know there's another ninja hack. I was debating whether I share it or not, but might as well. Hopefully, the world, Google doesn't hear this and change the rules. But right now, one thing I know that's working, and this goes to my buddy Scott Chrisman, the media house. He put me onto this, and the hack is that let's say your business is, Daniel's estate planning, right? So you're gonna make your profile Daniel's estate planning on Google. But let's say you're Daniel's estate planning in Denver, Colorado, for example. So you want to put the name of your company. Well, it might let's not say estate planning. Let's call it Daniel's Law Firm, right? Or Daniel's Firm, right? So it's Daniel's Firm on the profile. The thing you can do is change the name to Daniel's Firm space hyphen space estate planning Denver, Colorado. So your whole entire business profile name contains your business name, but also the service you provide and the location you provided in. where Google is going to see that and instantly say, okay, this guy's estate planning in Denver, Colorado. You're going to get boosted from that. Now, this is March 17, 2026. I don't know when you'll be listening to this, if the rules have changed, but that goes back to what I was saying about every 6 to 12 months, the internet's changing. So, this is a ninja tip for currently what's working. I don't know how long it will, but until they shut it off, we're gonna run it.
Yeah, yeah,
And it works.
absolutely. It does work, and we have a few clients that have done that as well. It is difficult to change the name after you get started.
Right. So for
Um,
new pages,
it's
take
really
note.
when you're doing the new page, right?
Right.
If you can say law firm name, Denver, Colorado, estate planning, Denver, Colorado, right? Put it all in one. That works really, really well. Um, if you're changing your name, it might take some time to get that review approved. You might need to have like a piece of mailing address that actually has the name of that business in there in order to get that approved. So yeah, don't recommend changing your Google business profile if it's already set up. But for new ones, yeah, absolutely. That's a really, really nice hack. Yeah, awesome. Jack, this was a really great call. I just want to thank you so much for taking the time to speak to our listeners today. If they want to contact you, how would they get a hold of you?
Absolutely. Yeah. Platformsandtraffic.com. That's platforms with an S, A-N-D, spell it out, traffic.com. Platforms and traffic. My name's Jack. If you guys need websites, I know this is mainly estate planning and Heath does websites as well. He's a great developer. But hey, if you feel like you want to reach out, go ahead, check us out, platformsandtraffic.com. We just won an award last year for being one of the best web design firms in Tennessee. So we're really proud of what we do. We work with a lot of amazing people, and hey, we'd love to bring you in the family.
Absolutely. If you guys are local in Tennessee and you want a Tennessee local guy that you can actually meet with, I know Jack drives to go see his clients. He'll take pictures of the outside of your building and get that geo tag sent into your Google business profile too. So he's a great guy to work with. I highly recommend working with him as well. And yeah, so I'm Heath Rost and I'm interviewing Jack Simon with Platforms and Traffic, and we will see you next time. So guys, you just watched this interview with Jack Simon, and we talked a lot about your Google business profile and some ninja hacks on how you can keep it up to date. But if you've never ventured into the world of YouTube and video marketing, you're gonna wanna check out this next interview that I have with Jeff Hampton of YouTube Rainmakers. He is an expert at YouTube marketing for lawyers. So you're gonna wanna check out that next episode.